Now, today is really the first day of the new year because this is the first Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast of 2026. And winter weather is, well, moderating across the much of the United States for this week. And we're going to get into just exactly what's happening and what's going to happen down the road because it doesn't look to be like it's going to stay too warm for too long. But we'll talk about all of this, of course, going forward tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. And of course, as always, you can support the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast if you shop on Amazon. Use our referral link that you'll find on the descriptor to this podcast on YouTube and also in various other places. You can't miss it. Just use that link to do your Amazon shopping, and Amazon tosses us some coin for sending you there. It doesn't cost you a penny out of your pocket. And it's a big reason why the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, the live version, which you are watching right now, is commercial free. So we appreciate very much those of you who have lent your support by shopping on Amazon. And Tempest by Weatherflow, get the revolutionary Tempest weather system. Join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link for this is pinned to the top of the chat board, as also on the descriptor to this podcast, and you can find it on my Facebook page and in various other places. There is a coupon code that I want to change, but I can't yet. And that coupon code, Joe Rayo, is
Autumn 2025. It's not autumn anymore officially.
I sure as hell hope I can get to change this before. I've almost given up on winter 2026. So I'm hoping we could get this changed by autumn 2026. And if you use it, you of course will get.
You will get what Rich Rotsmansky has posted on the chat board, 10% off.
I
And
guess
yes, I hope so. I hope you can change it too.
Well, I spent before the show began. I was firing off emails left and right, CCing my state representative, my congressman, congressperson. Uh, you know, I have to change this coupon code. Somebody needs to do this for me. I mean, will it take an act of God? I don't know. So anyway, I reached out to the Tempest people. Hopefully, they'll get back to me soon enough. Couple of announcements to make ahead of time for the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast this week. Is that Wednesday we're going to have a special guest, storm chaser Adam Lucio, and he is going to come beyond and talk about some various issues that have developed over the last couple of years with regards to storm chasing and also with AI and trying to figure out what's real and what's not. It's going to make for a very interesting time ahead as technology takes more and more of more sucks more and more blood out of our brain and out of our lives. So just make sure you come in for that. And a number of you have been asking in so many different ways about Dave Tolerus. And yes, David will be on this week. He's going to be on Thursday. So Wednesday, we've got Adam Lucio, Storm Chaser Adam Lucio, and Thursday, we will have Mansour Tolerus to grace us with his views and prognostications. So I had a happy
You know,
new
it's
year.
interesting. Didn't we have last year? We had girls who chase storms.
Yeah, a year ago we had Girls Who Chase. That was
Yeah,
very interesting, a lot of fun, and you know
yeah.
I had seen Adam posted on his had a Facebook post because I follow a couple of some of the storm chasers. Brandon Montgomery's another one I follow, and he's actually a local guy here. Um, so he brought up the issue of AI and and what's been going on with respect to what he does for a living. Um, you know, being able to sort of create pictures that aren't even real. Apparently, last week there was a week or two ago with regards to a tornado in Illinois. There was some pictures going around that made it look like the whole town was wiped out. And it was hard to tell, what exactly. You look at the picture and it kind of looks real, but it turned out to be fake. So, I want to get, I think that's a really important subject matter to discuss, and we're going to do that. So,
Yeah,
I had a
it's pretty
happy New
amazing.
Year, Joe. I had a happy New Year. I went to bed at 9:30. I slept right through it. 'Cause somebody took me to task on the comments because I did use the word hate and that I hate New Year, and they took issue with the fact that I would hate something like New Year's. Okay, hate is probably a strong, is probably too strong a word. Uh, I could use the Bob Grant word as despise, but I, I don't care for it. It's just not my thing. I don't care for sitting around tossing champagne at some magic moment. I'd rather sleep through it. I had dinner with friends here the next day. My popovers popped. My prime rib was spectacular. That made me happy. So anyway, how was your New Year?
Well, we went to spend part of New Year's Eve evening at the local German club. We're not, of course, a director of the German club. Got home and quietly were making preparations to ring in the new year. And then all of a sudden at 10:30, Renata saw that the dog needed to go out, and she put on her overcoat and her jacket or whatever. And then she opened the front door, but she forgot to put the leash on the dog. And the
Oh,
dog went scurrying out down the driveway into the darkness. At that time, the temperature was 25. Of course, it was nighttime. It was snowing at that time, too, Joe. And the dog just disappeared into the darkness. And I cannot tell you how stressed out the two of us became. We jumped in the car. We traversed, the neighborhood looking for him, calling his name, couldn't find him. Came back along about 11:30. We thought that really we may have lost him for good. It just a horrible feeling. But then we heard down the road the bark of a dog, and then we heard another dog barking, and that second dog sounded like our dog, Mr. Sweeney. We jumped back in the car again, went down the road, called, didn't see anything, nothing came back up the road, and as we were coming back up the road and turning into our driveway, guess who was walking up our driveway?
as
The
if
dog,
nothing had happened.
as if nothing had happened, indeed. And I got out of the car to try to get him, and then all of a sudden, my daughter, who found out about it, I posted a notice about this on Facebook. My daughter arrived, the dog, of course, running to her because that's his favorite, is my daughter Maria. And Maria was crying, and Renata was shaking, and I was just shaking my head, saying, what the heck's going on here? But uh, we got him back. It was after midnight. When all of you were celebrating New Year's, or maybe sleeping away the New Year's. Renata and I were going up and down our local road again, looking for and it's just funny. One of her friends texted her a Happy New Year at the stroke of midnight, and I saw it on her phone. I said, "Oh, by the way, Happy New Year." it it was a stressful time, but we got the dog back. We're very very happy. After that, it was really the rest of the night and the next day, the next couple of days have been fairly fairly quiet, and we've just been sitting here waiting for the first Joe and Joe of 2026, and here it is now.
Yes, it is. Uh, I totally get with how you feel. I was back a couple of years ago. I used to take JJ up to the lake here, which is in the forest in the part of the national forest, and then the TVA, the Tennessee Valley Authority, uh, river and park system, and it's a path, it's a big path with a mountainside, and I was trying to train him to be off leash, and he was good at it. But the thing is, Joe, when they get that scent of a deer or some kind of animal, it's like they get hypnotized and they don't hear you. And my dog does listen to me, and he's very cautious. Like when I was walking him off leash, he would walk ahead of me, but he constantly would turn around to make sure I was there. But he got onto this scent of some animal, and he disappeared into the woods. 3 hours, 3 hours. of look walking. I walked about the equivalent of 6 miles uh, following different areas of the pet. Nothing. And then finally, he comes out. He's under a bush about 20 feet from where he disappeared. And he comes strolling out as if, nothing had happened. It was sort of like, I went on my little adventure. But I've always remembered with respect to dogs when stuff like this happens. And it is true. You may not know where they are, but they know where you are. And as long as it's not a rainy day, they could pick up their scent and find their way back. But it's very stressing because you don't, as true as that is, you just don't want to believe it. And some dogs like to get very adventurous, and you don't want that to happen. Clearly, so thank God thank God he's back, and you're a happy
I got,
camper again.
as I told you, we heard the barking of a dog and then a second dog, which we felt was our dog, Mr. Sweeney. And a day or two later, I did get on Facebook Messenger, I got a message from a neighbor of ours down the road. He said, I suspect that it was our Lexi who sent Sweeney home. Leo and the woman's name is Pat. Leo and I let her out into our fenced backyard shortly before midnight. I heard her barking at the east end of the yard, called her back in, but she was undoubtedly telling Sweeney to go back to the family who loved him. Glad that there was a happy ending, and
Good.
again, we were very glad that that was the case. And yeah, I think you're right. We give these dogs not enough credit. I think they really know where they are based upon their scent, being able to find their way back home. Because sure enough, like I said, as we were driving back up toward our house, who was coming up our driveway again but our dog? So what
Yeah.
are you going to do?
All right. So you've been getting these little coating to an inch things going by every day and a half or so.
We
Uh,
got we got a little bit of snow on Thursday, Wednesday night, Thursday morning. We had about a half an inch. As I said, it was snowing when the dog escaped just
was
before the stroke of
that
midnight.
was that was the Thursday morning. There was a pretty solid squall line that moved through.
Right. In fact, for most of the night, there was nothing more than a sugar coating. No
Right.
big deal. But when we woke up, later on in the morning and looked out the window, there was a lot more than just a sugar coating. I would say there was about a half inch or maybe three quarters of an inch. I didn't make any exact measurements. I just went right on out and started scraping. And then last night, this was a surprise. I thought we would get just a sugar coating. Woke up this morning, we had about a third of an inch of new snow.
Yeah.
So out went Renata and I again scraping along. Now, the question that she's been asking me all afternoon is, are we going to get another round of snow tomorrow? I frankly don't think we're going to see very much. I mean, it'll probably snow, but I don't think it's going to amount to much of anything. So he says, and we'll see
Right.
what the story is.
Yeah. And the other thing is, we are going to see temperatures moderate this week, but I just find it interesting how, if you think back to November, we had models showing this big warm up, and it we moderated, but it by no means was any kind of big warm up. And I think you're really seeing the same thing this week. We're moderating. We're going to go above normal temperature wise, but as far as some sort of outrageous blowtorch pattern with temperatures running 25 or more degrees above normal, that's not going to happen.
I don't think so either. The probability of above normal temperatures, according to the Climate Prediction Center last week, and I posted it on my Facebook page, was 80 to 90%. People must realize that that doesn't mean 80 to 90% doesn't mean that that's going to be like heat wave conditions or blowtorch conditions. It simply means that the chances for above normal temperatures, be it 1 degree above normal or 10 degrees above normal, is
Exactly.
80 to 90% probability for that to happen. And indeed, that will happen mid and late week. We'll probably have above normal temperatures from Wednesday of this week through Thursday, Friday, and into the weekend. But it looks like, Joe, it's going to be all taken away from us again and back to colder temperatures by the beginning of or the early part of next week.
Yeah,
So enjoy the little warm up that's coming our way.
all the models seem to be showing this idea that we're going to be going back to something where we're going to get cold shot after cold shot. And I also think that we're also going to go back to the premise that we had in December, which is you're going to have occasional model runs that are going to try to show something uh, that will quickly disappear, then maybe they reappear. And if there's going to be a snow event, and I still, I tend to think that where there probably will be a couple of chances sometime this month that um, you're going to get some systems that are going to seem to pop out of nowhere, and go that way. So uh, it'll be very interesting. I think it'll be very interesting to see. I just think models are just having a real difficult time with the La Nina. Is it breaking down? Is it not breaking down? The polar vortex, when you look at the stuff that's going on in the stratosphere, it keeps rotating and stretching, rotating and stretching. And every time it does that, you're getting these, cold air pulses that drop southward. People looking at the Matt Julian oscillation, and it's been pretty much stuck in the neutral zone, outside of all the phases. So we don't know, where is that going to go? Uh, I just don't think that anything that you're seeing is actually having any kind of major impact in the overall pattern. I don't know which one is really the driving force here, uh, but uh, you just kind of have to go with it, see where the what, and we have blocking on top of that exactly, across the North Atlantic. So that adds another element to this equation. I think it's all very complicated. You can't really point to any one thing and say this is what's going to happen. So I really don't care where the what phase we're in with the Mad Julian oscillation. I think I care more about the blocking and the polar vortexes. I think that seems to be more of the driving force here than anything else.
I think you're absolutely right. And, you know, on the chat board, Tom Contino, for example, asking about possible coastal systems. We really, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, at this particular time of the year, and especially in a very progressive pattern such as the one we're in now, it's difficult enough to try to forecast, more than 3 or 4 days out, much less try to predict what's going to happen later on in the month or even later on in the winter season. So you're just going to have to take it and play it by ear.
I also think I also think that we're just going to go back to what we had, which is this sort of this fast northwest flow. You've got split flow in the Pacific. You've been getting these systems coming into the west, and they're just going over the top of the ridge and then dropping down. And if you've got cold air around, which we did in those two December cases, you're going to wind up with a moderate snowfall. And I think that's where we're going to be, going forward. The notion of content weather guy put up a post which I totally agree with. This notion that somehow uh, the the I-95 corridor snowstorms, uh, those are exceptions. They're not the rule. Those kind of storms are once every 10-year, once every 20-year type events. I'm talking about the ones that bury everybody from Washington all the way up to Boston, the I-95 type of storms. And you get long stretches where nor'easters are non-existent, and we may be in one of those cycles right now where nor'easters are not big players during the winter months. So that's kind of how I'm seeing it.
Well, like I said, we'll see. And one good part is that, and this was put out by the Climate Prediction Center, is that all of those atmospheric rivers which have been flooding out the western United States from Washington State down through California, looks like they're going to be in for a break, Joe. During the next week or 10 days, the pattern is going to be breaking down. That pattern is going to be breaking down, and they may actually be going into a drier than normal pattern, albeit it may be a short live pattern, but still it'll be a nice break from what they have been seeing so much of over the last 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah. And ridge position going back to the west, trough position coming back into the east. That's probably when we'll see some chances show up. Welcome tonight to everybody on the chat board, and welcome to those of you who are new to the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, or maybe you're not new, you're just lurking in the background. We love you too. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn your notifications on so you don't miss us. We're here Sunday through Thursday at 7:35 p.m. And we have no schedule changes planned for this week, so that's good. So if you like the show, folks, hit the like button because we always like to go to 100 likes. And here's what's going on watches and warnings wise across the U.S. Not a whole lot. We went from we go through these periods where it's like very busy and the map is just filled with all sorts of different colors representing all sorts of different weather hazards, and then you go to calmer periods, and we're kind of in a calmer state now. We have some winter weather advisories up in northern Michigan in the northern half of the lower peninsula as well as the upper peninsula. A couple of counties there in winter storm warnings, and winter weather advisories in northeastern to northwestern Wisconsin, across northern Minnesota into eastern North Dakota. Also, a few in western Wyoming and northern Utah, southwest Utah, a couple of counties in northern Idaho and northwest Montana under winter storm watches, as well as winter storm watches in the Cascades, winter storm warnings in the Sierra Nevadas. We have flood watches up for northern California. And as Joe mentioned, some heavier rains there. We also have flood watches up for the Hawaiian Islands, Joe. I believe those are flood watches. Let me make sure they're not coastal flood. Let's see. No, I take that back. They're coastal flood statements. So there's coastal flooding going on throughout the Hawaiian Islands. And in Alaska, in southwest Alaska, we've got a blizzard warning. I always like to look at the blizzard warnings in Alaska because they they not always they don't always come with very heavy snows. Let's see. Oh, here we go. So, Joe, I don't know if you're familiar. Do you know Bethel, Alaska?
I've heard of it. I don't know about the climatology, so
About
I'm kind of
Kipnuk, Alaska.
same thing.
Yeah. So they got a blizzard warnings. The Kuskokwim Delta and the Western Capes, that I can pronounce, from 11 a.m. Sunday, Alaska time. I don't know what the time difference. What's the time difference in Alaska? Is it 8 hours? 5
Actually,
hours?
no, it's in parts of Alaska. Juneau, for example, is 4 hours behind
Okay.
us.
Well, this is in southwest Alaska, so it's got to be at least 5 hours. Anyway, they're going for 8 to 16 inches and gusts to 50 miles per hour there in that part of Alaska. And also winter storm warnings for king salmon, Alaska, 8 to 18 inches there with winds to 45. And Lake Iliamna, heavy snow there, 12 to 24 inches with localized 30-inch amounts for Port Alsworth to Iliamna, and winds gusting to 40 miles per hour. So some wintry conditions being reported in the state of Alaska. And here's our satellite loop. Little storm system formed off the Carolinas and moved out to the east, is down near Newfoundland and moving away. But we're still in this flow in the upper atmosphere from the west-northwest. And here comes the next disturbance, now moving through the Great Lakes. It's kind of a pseudo warm front because it's going to produce snow just as the core of the cold air is moving out tomorrow. It doesn't look like much. It looks like another one of these coating to maybe somebody gets a half an inch or even an inch, as has been the case with these systems that have been going by. And then once that goes by, the warmer air behind it should start to reveal itself in the northeast and mid-Atlantic states on Tuesday.
And we are hoping that the next round of precipitation, well, as I said, tomorrow there may be some spotty light snow and flurries, but when we get to Tuesday night into early Wednesday, it's looking pretty much like that precipitation is going to be mostly wet and not white, or maybe a touch of ice. I'm still not entirely certain about that. And then comes that big warm up, as we noted, for the middle and latter part of this week. Well, not a big warm up. I'm talking about temperatures that, at their best will be approaching 50, which will probably feel like late spring or early summer around here, considering how cold it was and has been for the last 4 to 6 weeks. I think this past December, Joe, December 2025, ended up about 5 or 5.5 degrees below normal. One of the colder Decembers that we've had around here in recent years.
Yeah, I think it was the coldest since 2010,
Yeah.
I believe. All right, radar tonight, not all that busy in the Northeast, a little bit. There's actually some streaky flurries up north of Route 84 and south of I-90, moving eastward, and they're pushing into northwest Connecticut now. Also, what we could see again ahead of that next disturbance up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan and in northern Wisconsin, some areas of moderate to heavy snow in those darker green bands that are pushing east there, and that's part of the system that's coming to the east tomorrow. But it's going to be weakening as it does so. And we got a fair amount of precipitation going on in the west, particularly in Southern California, arcing back to the Sierra Nevadas, also northeastward from there into Nevada, including Reno, and points north and east, northwest California, up through the Cascades, and into southwestern Canada. Also, areas of some snow in parts of Idaho, western Montana, and into Wyoming. And as far as precipitation goes this week, uh, this is a 7 day, so it takes us through next Sunday. So I think the majority of what you see in the Northeast and in the Northeast is going to be maybe for next weekend, because much of what's going to happen tomorrow is very light. And on Tuesday, when another system goes by to the north, much of that is going to be very light. But in total this week, a half to 3 quarters, parts of upstate New York and into western New England, west central New England, looking at inch and a half plus melted. And further south, of course, the amounts tail off from Virginia down to Florida. We're talking basically a tenth of an inch or less, a few places a little higher in the Tennessee and Ohio Valley and over me, where we're looking at 3 quarters of an inch to an inch and a half. And you can see areas of heavy precip continuing out in the western states from California on northward. Super chats tonight. Thanks for hitting the tip jar, Birder Lady, hitting the tip jar. Looking forward to Adam Lucio coming on Wednesday, and the chairman Scott Briller. We'll have Briller Jeopardy in just a little bit. The only thing guaranteed in weather is Joe and I. Yes, we try to do the best we can with the wonderful tools that we have. So here's the upper air on the GFS. And what I find notable is, we're kind of in a ridgish position, if you want to call it that, this week. It's on the flattish side, sort of peaks out on Thursday, and then it starts to flatten out as troughing comes back into the east. But more importantly, the Alaskan trough of running from Alaska down the west coast, breaking down and being replaced by strong ridging as we move into next week. And then the blocking is still in play as well. We get a return to some cross-polar flow during next week. And the models, both the European and the GFS for the last few runs, signaling some sort of sharp trough around the 15th or so. So in about 11 days. Whether it's there or not, because if it's done this before and they turn out to be a lot flatter, remains to be seen. But this is a colder look for next week for sure. And again, you see little waves that are coming down in that northwest flow. But the upper pattern in the Pacific is definitely making a notable change with that so-called atmospheric river flow getting cut off. That is definitely a big change from what it has been.
And more super chat hits coming on the chat board here. One from Joseph Carr, and also another from Steve Lapointe, who also says, "Hit that button." According to my counter, Joe, we have 87 likes.
Oh, so we're not that far away from the magic 100 where Joe gets to ring the bell. So you like the show, hit the like button. All right, here's what it looks like on the surface. And we can go to I don't know. It depends on what one you want to use. I don't think it really matters. We know what the general pattern is going to be. So again, warming up. Yeah, we'll probably get eventually get into the 50s, maybe by if not Wednesday, Thursday. Here's our system for tomorrow. A big yawn. Uh, but again, we threw in the possibility that we could see a whitening of the ground in some places. I think the best chances are going to be from northern New Jersey and New York City, north and east. Then you've got Tuesday, which I think really is the main push of the warmer air. That'll probably trigger some snow and some ice in central New England, upstate New York, northern New York into Maine, mostly snow there. And then we'll have this high that moves off the coast. The next low coming out, there's Pacific energy coming into the Baja and then eventually reforming in the southern plains. That shoots up to the Great Lakes. And oh, we got a bell ring.
Yep, 106. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, everybody.
So here's Saturday, a low going to the lakes, cold front approaching. So that's probably when maybe we get into some showers Saturday afternoon and evening. Colder air comes in behind this, and actually that colder air gets all the way down into Georgia and North Florida. And then that cold air mass comes out, goes out, another cold front with another cold air mass behind it. And then, as I said, maybe in about 10 or 11 days, if it's true that we're going to have some sort of sharp trough in the east, here's your chance that maybe we could wind up with some sort of low in the eastern part of the United States. But I'm very skeptical, Mr. Rayo. Not skeptical about the colder air masses coming down, but I'm skeptical about how these things are, evolving on some of the models, if only because of the fact that last week everybody was going berserk over, signal dates around the 6th and around the 9th and the 10th, and none of those are happening. The exact opposite is happening.
It's
So,
it's it's what I just said, Joe. I mean, you really can't put too much faith on these models much beyond 3 or 4 days, because you might see a big storm coming, or presumably coming, as you just mentioned, with the storm that was supposedly going to happen sometime around the 7th or 8th of January. That doesn't look like that's going to be transpiring now. Again, things are moving so quickly that even the supercomputers who are modeling these weather patterns out as far out as 15 days, they're having a tough time after 3 or 4 days and getting it all down.
all right. So, are you ready for Briller Jeopardy?
The first one of 2026.
Yes, I have a bunch. Scott took the New Year's off on vacation, and he's back. Thank you for sending this to me. So we're to weather extremes in January in New York City. The highest temperature ever recorded, Joe, in January.
Oh, I think we have seen temperatures reach the 70s at least once in January. Um, I'll say 72.
Wow, I'm impressed. On the nose.
Oh, well, so is the case with the. I saw a few people here. In fact, quite a
Jimmy
few of them.
Z of New Jersey. Jimmy Z in New Jersey. William
Yep.
Uber.
Harold
Magnolia
Olson,
P. Harold Olson.
Owen D.
Right. A
Uh,
lot of
uh,
folks pick 76,
yeah,
72. Can you guess the year?
I think it happened in my lifetime. May I
Yes, it did.
say? May I say it might have been the El
Relatively recent lifetime.
the El Nino year of '98? Was that it, or
Uh, Not 98.
was that one of the years that you and I were working together at FiOS?
No.
No. Okay.
I was still at Pix then.
How about 2016?
No, no. I mean, I was still at Pix on a regular basis.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
I'll end the mystery. 2007 to oh 07.
2007.
January 6th, 2007, 72. So that's actually coming up. That's Tuesday is January 6th. The Epiphany, or the Epiphany now, at least in the Catholic churches, it was today, since they made it a Sunday feast, I think about 20 or so years ago. What was the lowest temperature ever in January?
I will. I'm thinking that it might be related to the cold wave of 1718, 1917, 18. I'll say I'll say something like -6 in 1918.
Well, again very impressive. Very impressive. You're on the nose again for the temperature. Very good. -6. Jason Kaplan got -6 also. Um, Rich Rothmansky got -6, and okay, here we go. And by the way, you were right to go back far, but you didn't go back far enough. It was January 24th, 1882.
Ooh,
Okay, that it hit -6. And what was the coldest daytime maximum? I'll give you a hint. It was the same day, January 24th, 1882. What was the coldest daytime maximum?
shall I say three? Three.
You have said three, but three is not the correct answer. It's not high enough. But I see a few people, including Mike Waterhouse Bonsai, his Rothmanskiness, Christina Pedia, Frank Scalera, and going with six, and Robert Lomnicki. Six is the was the temperature on January 24th, 1882. So boxcars basically, six for the low, -6 for the low, +6 for the high. What was the most snow ever to fall in the calendar month of January? And this is a recent occurrence.
I'll bet it was during the Snowmageddon years of 2014. I'm going to say something crazy like 31.
Hold on. I'm sorry. Wait. Well, all right, no, I
Did you
forget it.
read it
Just
wrong?
hold on. No, no, I read it correctly. Then I looked. I accidentally, my eyes went to the next question. No, no. The question was, what was the most snow ever to fall in the calendar month of January? And you said what?
I said it might have been in 2013 or 2014. I said 31.
Um, it was neither one of those years, but not far off. The 31 is a good guess, but not high enough. Not high
Okay.
enough. Uh, I see a lot of folks posting in the 25 to 30-inch range. Not high enough. Chuck Cardillo at 34 is not high enough. But Mike Waterhouse Bonsai and Mr. Davison getting it at 36, Joe. 36 inches. And that actually was in 2011. 2011.
I knew it was fairly recent.
Yes.
I knew it had to be a recent occurrence.
And you should
And what
get
was it?
this
And what was it again?
36 inches in 2011.
Okay. Wow.
And finally, the biggest snowstorm of the month of January.
By the way, I just out of curiosity, I brought up the Central Park monthly and annual snowfall records, and we had 36 inches in January of 2011.
Right.
What do you think February brought to us?
Not much. Because that
You're
winter,
right.
didn't that winter 2010, 2011 was front end loaded in it? Like December and January were big months, and then it just sort of faded away after that.
Right.
So,
4.8 in February and only 1 inch in March and a trace in April. But you're right. December of 2010, 20.1 inches. And I think I think that was the most of that 20.1 came from the Boxing Day
the
storm.
Boxing Day, yes. And then the January was a really snowy month. So you had 56 inches. You had over 57 inches for the season, but it came in December and January, and you had very little in February and March. That's
Right.
that, and that's how it works much of the time. By the way, you rarely get rarely get that. I guess if you want to call it the trifecta of December, January, and February. The only winter that I can really remember that was the case in recent years is 2013, 2014, which was, pretty much started in early December and it went right up to almost the last day of winter where we had snow on the ground.
Well, the winter.
And
I,
that
I
kind of
mean,
happens every 20 or 30 years.
I mean, I don't really remember this, but I've heard so much about it. The winter of 60 61, where we had a full scale blizzard on December the 12th, and then we had the Kennedy inauguration storm in January, and then we had like a 22 or 24-inch snowstorm on February the 5th. So there
Right.
you go. You had three whopping snowstorms in 3 consecutive months, and that was probably about as close as you're going to get to the trifecta that you just mentioned.
Yeah. You had something like that in 2013, 2014, where you had, I mean, I got to go back and look, but you had a lot of events that produced, high single digit, low double digit amounts in each of the 3 months.
Yep.
And a few other, lower ones along the way too. And I'm sure there's a big one that's peppered in there somewhere. But yeah, these long lasting winters it's all mythology. It's a myth. Uh, you know, these sorts of things, you get them every 20 or 30 years, where you start early and you finish late, and it never seems to end. 95, 96 was like that too. You know, it was nonstop from the beginning of December all the way to through mid-April, and as a matter of fact. So anyway, all right, I think we pretty well covered a lot of stuff tonight. So it was
Yes,
a
we did.
very exciting first show of 2026. And again, a reminder: Wednesday we're going to have Adam Lucio, Storm Chaser Adam Lucio, on the show, and he's going to talk about issues surrounding what's going on in the storm chasing world. I think it'll be a very interesting show. And for you Dave Tolerous fans, he'll be here Thursday. So mark those down on your calendars, and of course, Joe and I will be back tomorrow at Monday at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time.
Till then, Joe, I say good night and good luck.
And good luck. Bye bye.